Hello and welcome to The Young Ones, a podcast all about teen superhero teams and why we love them. My name is Charlie and I use they, them pronouns.
I'm Mikey and I use he, him pronouns.
And I'm Reed and I use they, them pronouns.
And...
Ow. God damn it, Jake. I said by the table, not through the table. Oh, hey, everybody.
Dan?
Oh my god, are you okay?
honestly, I've been waiting for something like this to happen with you.
So, Danny the Street is holding a duet competition at Peeping Tom's Perpetual Cabaret in our universe, and I need a partner because Jake hurt himself trying to perform a triple backflip.
I can, give it my best?
Great. Boom tube, now.
Dan stuff.
Hi, welcome back to Supersons, a podcast about DC Comics and trying to make it a little bit more digestible and easy to get into. I'm joined by my co-host, Jake.
Howdy.
And today we have a very special guest, my friend Reed.
Hello.
Reed, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, cool. I am Reed. I hang out sometimes on a podcast called The Young Ones, which is a podcast about teenage superheroes and why we love them. You can find us around the internet at places like Twitter, which I think our handle is at Young Ones Cast or at The Young Ones Cast. Sorry to my co-hosts Charlie and Mikey that I don't know our Twitter handle by heart. And I'm a culture critic and historian that mostly yells about trans representation in comic books.
And we are actually covering something similar to that today. We are talking about the Doom Patrol. As you know, the Doom Patrol recently got a television show, and we live in a world where we can talk about Doom Patrol and people know what we're talking about. But before we get into that, there's a little bit of big DC news that actually deals directly with Doom Patrol. DC did some restructuring of their company and their imprints. So DC put Vertigo out to Dream. Vertigo was their, I would say indie comics.
They're edgy comics.
Don't quote me on that. But they're like Sandman Mystery Theater, Doom Patrol. A lot of the big 90s books they did. Hit after hit after hit.
Was Preacher on Vertigo?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. No, it was.
Yeah.
That couldn't be anywhere else.
Yeah. Vertigo.
Well, I forgot if it was like creator owned.
Yeah, I don't know if Ennis owns it. But yeah, it was sort of a giant in the 90s of these edgier, more adult stories. And then over the years, more publishers started coming around, like Image and things like that. And a lot of these stories could be told different places where before they weren't giving the platform they had. But DC is doing some restructuring. So now the only three DC publishings are DC Kids, and DC Black Label. DC is the books we normally talk about. DC Black Label is their adult line. It's just Batman books so far, and like one Superman book by Frank Miller, which nobody wanted.
It has the same vibe as Marvel Max.
Yeah. It's just like Marvel Max.
I just want to touch on that Superman thing. I looked at an interview. He's like, "Yeah, people want their Superman edgy." I'm like, "No."
That is
you thought that when you were doing All-Star Batman, and no one likes that.
Yeah, Frank Miller is
very out of touch.
a lot. He's a lot. But yeah, they're...
Can I say fighting words on this podcast?
Yeah.
Frank Miller hasn't been relevant since he wrote Daredevil.
Was that before or after The Dark Knight Returns?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, because I don't really read DC, so...
All right, so Dark Knight Returns is also great. But yeah, he's got a lot of problems. Yeah. The third Dark Knight book was called Master Race, and I stopped reading it as soon as I saw that. I was like, oh no, please don't do that.
Yeah. Frank Miller got the same worms in his brain that a lot of people did post 9/11.
Yeah.
Did you guys see any of the pages from the Superman thing?
It's bad. It's there's a lot of bad stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's also the same Superman as the Dark Knight universe, so he's like super Republican army. It's
everything
in the Navy.
Super Republican in that world.
What you're saying to me is that his Superman is basically that really lackluster love interest from Buffy season 4.
Yes.
Yes. God, I fucking hated that guy.
Yes.
What was his name? Riley?
Riley.
Corn-fed Iowa boy.
I think they changed him for the new comic.
Yeah. Oh, the new comic is incredible. Modern Buffy is really cool. I wanted to talk more shit about Frank Miller. I wanted to talk about Black Label today. Yesterday they announced that they're doing a horror line under Black Label, which looks really cool.
Yeah. One of my favorite authors is writing a book for that, I think.
Yeah,
Maggie Stiefvater is writing Swamp Thing.
Ooh.
And she's like a really, really, really good, atmospheric YA horror magic writer.
Oh, that's is it going to be for Black Label or kids?
Let's find out.
Yeah, just because I know there's a couple
Constantine's getting a kid's book.
Constantine is getting a kid's book, and I'm
Johnny Constantine.
Oh,
yes.
oh! I don't like that. I don't like it.
Especially knowing the history between Constantine and Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Swamp Thing is getting a YA.
Swamp Thing death fucks.
No, he goes through Constantine.
No, he fucks in the swamp form too. It's never been on paper, but I believe it.
Let us see the Swamp Thing.
Yeah. Moving on to the DC Kids.
It's going to happen in the show now.
The YA stuff. I think that, for me, that's super cool just because they're branching out more into bookstores and things like that where, I'm so supportive of local comic shops and things like that, but not all people have access to things like that. So having it in bookstores and other places where books are accessible is going to be really cool to get new readers, especially because they're aimed at younger people.
I'm really upset that Virgo is shuttering, but I think switching towards a more bookstore-oriented market is so much smarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As someone that came to comics more or less through books, it's a better bet. And the other thing is that a lot of comic book stores don't feel safe for a lot of people.
Yep. Some people can be real creepy in them.
Yep.
And gatekeepy.
Yeah. Luckily, mine's very welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we recently moved across the country, and our new comic book shop is, incredible. But back east, that was not the experience that I had at comic book shops. The people at my shops wouldn't even, let me order comics.
What?
Yeah, I tried to order, because we all know Marvel is, super into canceling books because they don't look at trade sales or internet sales.
Got that.
So I was trying to order, books that I wanted to support, and the comic book shop employees were like, oh, well, we're definitely going to have copies of them, so I don't know why you would want to order them. And it's do you not know how your own business works?
Yeah. I think the bookstore is a smart move. Even if they're not a super accessible thing anymore.
What's also
Yeah.
pretty dope is that some of these covers that they have equally credit the artist and the writer.
Yeah, DC is actually very good with that. In recent years, especially, they've been very good about making sure everyone gets credit. And when we had Jimmy on, he talked about that some, especially which book I'm gonna buy Raven because is it Gabriel Piccolo? Is doing the art, and he actually started online as a Teen Titans, like not a fan fiction artist, but like a fan artist, just drawing
That's
pictures
awesome.
of them. He's got like the cool synth wavy looking Teen Titans where they have like Nintendo shirts on and stuff.
Oh, dope.
And I'm so excited for that book. Yeah, but the Legions of Superheroes are back, or they will be back.
Yep.
Oh, and the JSA are back too.
Oh, yeah.
2019
they're not.
and our faves are back.
Yeah.
And then what is the Doomsday Clock is almost over, and then one day they'll get the Joker thing out of the way, and then we can be happy again. But
maybe they'll get the Joker thing out of the way. Maybe. Just gonna leave it hanging.
Today's like Batman Damned. Sorry, I try not to make the Bat Dick jokes, but
The Bat thing.
Yeah, that's my ship name.
the Bat thing. There is we also send it to you later, but there's a fantastic panel. Is that Thunder? Wow. There's a fantastic panel of Swamp Thing and Batman sitting in Batman's library across each other. It's beautiful. I want to get it painted on my body.
That's
But
a full back piece right there.
yeah. Oh, I was thinking on my face.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So everyone knows.
I want the Swamp Thing show version of the Phantom Stranger to be the main Phantom Stranger now.
He looks cool.
Yeah.
But
It's great.
Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
We
Doom
have
thing.
we have a bunch of characters here that aren't super in the mainstream. Reed, do you want to read off these character bios that Jake wrote?
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about Cliff Steele, aka Robot Man, who is a race car driver turned into an angsty man of metal. We have Larry Trainer, aka Negative Man, aka in the comics that we're going to be talking about today. Also Rebus. Larry is a pilot who got collided with the negative spirit and became a mummy man and a plant dad. Crazy Jane is a young woman with 64 alternate personalities, each with their own power, which, according to these notes that I'm reading, that's as much power as the Nintendo 64, which means lots.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We're also going to be talking about Rena Farr, aka Elastic Girl, who is a 1950s actress who turned stretchy and
TV goopy.
TV goopy. What do you mean by TV goopy?
Because she becomes that big ball of goop in the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
She only stretches once in the show.
yeah. She doesn't really do that in
Okay.
comics.
I wasn't sure if TV goopy meant like she's not as goopy as she could be because they're trying to keep it nice for TV. I have no idea.
Oh, no. I think they went a little too far past that. Just a little
I actually
bit.
love her goopiness. In
Oh, no,
TV.
it's great.
What the Jake, this is why we can't have you do anything. Oh, except the next one.
I don't know.
All right, we're going to steer back because we still got some more folks to go through. We've got Niles Calder, a.k.a. The Chief, a.k.a. Piece of Garbage.
Correct.
We've got Victor Stone, a.k.a. Cyborg. And Jake tells me that you don't need any more info, not just because he's popular, but because the name is self-explanatory.
Correct.
Victor Stone, I'm just going to jump in.
Yeah.
I don't like the Teen Titans television show. I didn't like it as a kid because it had the anime inspiration. I was just super anti-anime. But this year has been the year of Cyborg. Between this and Young Justice, I really love Cyborg, and I see like the the idea that he's trying to struggle with who he is, what he's become, and what he can become. And I think I really love Cyborg now. So, booyah.
Good.
Sorry to interrupt, Reed.
No. I love hearing you talk about what you like because you are so enthusiastic. We also have Joshua Clay, aka The Tempest, who is a hero turned team doctor. Unfortunately, he is also, I think, the only person of color that we encounter in the comic book, and he's going to be out of commission for most of it. Will Magnus is our last person of the day, and he is apparently the creator of the Metal Men.
Yeah, he's not in the show. He's in the comic, and he created a group called the Metal Men, who are just a bunch of different robots made out of different metals. They're pretty funny, actually. They're like...
So he is Daddy of Robots.
Yeah. Robot
Right.
Daddy.
But no. Cliff is Robot Daddy.
Okay,
Will
so...
Magnus is Daddy of Robots.
Well, Magnus made Robot Man's body.
So he's Grandpa.
Daddy of Robots. No, I'm referring to Cliff Steele Robot Man as Daddy.
That's fair.
Robot Daddy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. So, our first story today is maybe the single greatest piece of superhero television, film, anything ever of all time. It is an episode of Doom Patrol called Danny Patrol. It was directed by Dermot Downs. The cast of the show is pretty breathtaking. I'm only going to list off a couple people just because we're only going to cover one half of the episode just because the rest is more relevant to the series as a whole, and what we're covering is relevant to everything else in the world. So you've got Brendan Fraser as Robot Man. Timothy Dalton, aka James Bond, is the Chief. Matt Bomer is Larry Traynor. And then who else is in our story? Vic
Who's
Stone.
playing Maura Lee?
Maura Lee is played by Alan Mingo Jr., formerly Donkey from Shrek the Musical. And then Danny the Street does not speak. So, and then Victor Stone is played by Jovan Wade. Anyone else? Nope, that's it.
No, I think that's it.
I mean, other than, Crazy Jane Diane Guerrero. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not in our summary.
Yeah, she's hanging out with Rita in this episode.
All that Karen stuff.
Before we get into this, her power in this episode is rom-coms.
Most dangerous.
It is. If you take one thing away from Supersons, it's just please go watch Doom Patrol.
Yeah. Doom Patrol is also great. Like, I feel like a lot of people would be put off by the premise of Doom Patrol because it's superhero-y, but it's also just an entire, like, if you like camp, you like Doom Patrol. If you love rom-coms but also love to hate them, you love Doom Patrol. If you like stories and also hate stories, you love Doom Patrol. If you like Alan Tudyk, please, you will love Doom Patrol.
Oh, he is so good in the show. Every scene he's in, he steals it. And I love that he's the narrator.
That's our last cast member that I think we got to talk about. Alan Tudyk. Mr. Nobody.
He is the overarching bad guy for this season. Oh man, he's got so many great lines. Like when the show opens and he mocks you for watching another superhero show, or in the second episode, the Chief is like, "Who are you talking to?" He goes, "Trolls on Reddit, Grant Morrison fans, DC Universe subscribers." And it's like just breaks the fourth wall, but in a way, it's kind of like, nerds.
Imagine if Deadpool was good.
Yeah.
Like if Deadpool was well written, that's the Mr. Nobody vibe in Doom Patrol.
I like that. I like that description. Good Deadpool. Jake, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Our episode opens with a mysterious agent moving to infiltrate somewhere with his team chirping in his ear. Once he arrives on Danny Street, it is clear that he is an outsider there. Everyone is dressed in flamboyant outfits with vivacious colors and just a bunch of other kinds of outcasty types. I think that's the best way to describe some of them. The street looks like the most ideal main street you can conjure in your mind. The agent spots a mannequin wearing a dress in a men's clothing store that stops him in his tracks. He tells his teams to stand by as they ask to move in. The agents rush towards the street, but it's gone. After some drama in Doom Manor, they are brought into a flashback dream that Larry Traynor is having post-accident where he's... having post-accident.
Larry was in a plane accident where he was infected with the negative spirit.
Well, that's really negative against the negative spirit, Dan. Calling it infected.
I think Larry is pretty negative towards the negative spirit at this point in Larry's journey.
The negative spirit is pretty positive.
The chill spirit.
Yeah, he's pretty chill.
It goes back and forth.
Then again, he does torment Larry through most of the series.
He doesn't mean to, I don't think.
No, he wants to. He's like kicking him in the ass to deal with his shit.
Do we know that the negative spirit uses he/him pronouns?
I don't think we know anything about the negatives.
Cool.
So originally the negative spirit was called Negative Man, but then it became the negative spirit. So,
I mean,
we love a gender fluid negative spirit.
Yeah.
So I was using it to describe Larry, but I can understand where we got lost in there.
Yeah, but the negative spirit, the name does change.
True.
Like in the comics. Which is, I think, important in the comics. But in the show, I don't think they...
In the show, he's just kind of like a lightning person.
Yeah, I think it's a part of Larry, but...
Well, no, they're definitely distinct entities.
Like, yeah, I think you're right. I think it would be gender fluid just because we don't get a...
Yeah.
I wonder what Larry refers to it as.
I think mostly Larry calls it Buddy, which is kind of adorable.
Done. All right. Buddy kind of just like wants to kick Larry in the ass, and he's like, "Man, you gotta get your shit together. Accept yourself."
Yeah, like that vine of that like very nude person in New York that's like waving a banana saying, "Love yourself, accept yourself." That's the negative spirit.
Done.
Yeah. That's going to go up with the episode then.
We're all buddies. Where was I?
So Larry's having a dream about the government taking him for testing.
Right. Yeah, so he's getting getting tested on by a super sketchy secret organization, and I don't know. I don't think they're a part of the U.S. government because...
Nope, they're called the DOD. That's what the guy says. It took me I think it's the Department of Defense, and then it boils down into...
Yeah, but the problem with that is Danny could have, gone to another country, and they would have been fine then. That's the one problem I have with that idea.
Yeah, I want to be real gentle with you boys, but the United States military can do whatever it wants anywhere.
Yeah. That is true. That is true.
No one can stop them.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that is fair.
I don't want to talk about what this organization is yet, but I think they're not really. I think they're just like a secret organization, like S.H.I.E.L.D. or STARS or
shitty Men in Black.
Yes, very shitty Men in Black.
Really bigoted Men in Black.
Yeah, like the epitome of bad.
Okay, Men in Black hoods.
Yes. Like some of the stuff they say is very, very bad.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back.
What happens when Larry wakes up, Jake?
When he awakens, he pulls out a patch with a mysterious sword and key on it. Vic and Larry find a cake in the front porch that's asking for Niles Calder's help on a street that doesn't exist on any map. Because Vic checks, because that's what he can do, because he's got a computer brain called Grid. And anybody who knows about DC Comics knows that's not a good thing.
So Grid is the Justice Syndicate basically the evil Justice League Cyborg. And when he comes to the Earth that Cyborg is on, he just possesses his body, and then Cyborg becomes Grid. So every time we hear Grid in this show, I shiver.
Which
Thank
is a
you
fair
for
assessment.
explaining that.
Yeah, no. Well, there's more to that, because in the comics, Grid does eject Vic from the actual cyborg parts, and he's just kind of left with, little, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of just like half a torso and a head.
Yeah, I think the way that the show handles it is really interesting, and I am curious to see if that foreshadowing leads to more Grid shenanigan.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I hope the Justice League's in this show at some point.
Just Superman pops in and is like,
He could not handle it.
No, he
I
couldn't.
want to see Robert Pattinson in Doom Patrol.
Oh, yeah.
Done.
What the fuck's up,
Our
Batman?
bats.
What's up, Batman? What the fuck you up to?
And he tells him to get out of Gotham. That's it. That's how the episode ends.
Cliff's superpower is the word fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says fuck all the time, and he inspires me.
Doom Patrol said fuck rights.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So many fucks.
Yeah.
All right, but Jake, you can keep
Which
going.
we'll get back to in a little bit. So the two head to the mysterious street in Ohio. When they arrive, it's the same street as earlier, but everything is boarded up and people have run away when they approach, instead of being welcoming and flirtatious like earlier. They quickly realize that the street is talking to them as the street changes to talk through many things, and then he guides them to Peeping Tom's Perpetual Cabaret, which is hosted by Morally Corrupt.
So, yeah, it turns out that Danny's the street, which is amazing. It's so good. Danny is a sentient genderqueer street who uses they, them pronouns. Danny has been on the run since we last saw them. Danny's been giving people who don't fit in anywhere else a place to be themselves. And it turns out that the organization that's been hunting Danny was the one that took Larry, hence why we diverged to call them Men in Black Hoods.
Yeah. Before we get to the next thing, I want to say it's kind of great the fact that anytime Danny is referenced after this episode, it is always, oh, did I not tell you about the genderqueer street?
Yeah.
They make it a point to say genderqueer as much as possible.
It's incredible. As a non-binary person, it's like really fucking cool to see a show like deeply commit to having this representation. Yeah, my Facebook cover image is literally just Danny talks by like basically materializing words in places where you would normally see words on a street. So there's like a marquee that says, "Haven't you ever heard of sentient genderqueer teleporting streets before, Larry?" And it's so good.
And all of the text in Danny on Danny is like Dr. Seuss-esque. Love it.
It looks like the SpongeBob font.
Oh yeah, you are right.
It might just literally be the SpongeBob font, which is amazing. But yeah, so the shady government organization that's hunting Danny and the one that took Larry is called the Bureau of Normalcy, which is dedicated to stomping out anything that isn't normal, which feels really salient lately. And the agent Darren Jones has been hunting Danny because he lost his partner when they vanished, like when the street vanished and Jones's partner vanished, because it turns out that Darren Jones's partner is none other than Morally Corrupt. She was sent to Danny to hunt them down and turn them over to the Bureau, but she actually found out who she is on Danny and decided to stay with Danny. It's amazing to like watch this very, very quiet moment where this trans woman like figures out who she is. And when she came to the street, she just like she found herself, and there's this really it's just so beautiful. Because it doesn't feel over dramatic when the show sort of goes through that. And, Morley says when talking about it that I was more myself than I've ever been. And it's just so beautiful and tender, and you can tell how much Morley and the other Danzians love Danny. And the idea that there's this genderqueer, teleporting, sentient street that just moves around collecting the lost and the lonely is like the most ideal fantasy for me right now. But the problem is that no one on the street feels safe anymore because the Bureau is after them. And the people have been keeping smiles on their faces because if they stopped feeling happy, then Danny would die, which is heavy and a lot, but also feels really salient because I think there's, especially as a queer person and as a trans person, there's a lot of effort to put on brave faces because we have to, because something that I struggle with a lot is that the alternative, if we're not putting on brave faces, is then we're not, looking like it will be okay if you come out or if you transition, because when you're a young trans or queer kid, like the first trans person that you see is so important. And so like for me, making sure that like I'm presenting as if everything is okay is really important sometimes. And so it's a really nice way to sort of turn that into television without putting in, I think, a lot of the same like real world stakes that a lot of shows that try to do trans representation do. But so the Dannysons are afraid of the Bureau and what will happen when they catch them. Larry tries to run from the situation because he's also afraid of the Bureau, because Larry is obviously a victim of the Bureau, but the other thing to think about is that Larry is gay, and the Bureau obviously hunts like things that are outwardly like magical or mutant or weird and not normal in that very obvious way. But there's that additional level of coding where we've been watching throughout the entire season of Doom Patrol Larry be confronted again and again with his own sexuality and constantly run away from it because he's from the 50s, and it just is a thing that he has to struggle with. And so Larry gets defensive and strikes out at Cyborg because Cyborg wants to stay and fight. But Larry can't, and Larry has another flashback, which again is the negative spirit trying to get Larry to accept himself. And Larry says to Cyborg, I am done having people tell me who I am. And it's just really heartbreaking. That's Larry's slow coming out process was probably, I think, my favorite thing that Doom Patrol did, because Larry doesn't face like violence for being gay, but that fear permeates all of it. And so it's nice. Like it feels like the art feels like it was created with a lot of empathy, as opposed to, I think, some other shows that don't really do that super well, or superhero media like Captain Marvel, where, they have a whole life together, but, they're best friends. There's nothing there. But that's for another day.
I think what really helps that is because of Matt Bomber being gay himself, instead of just having a straight dude in a gay role, with like a lot of things.
Yep, because there's like sorry if you all hear my cat trilling in the background, but I think that that's a thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that like you can sympathize with LGBTQ people, but there is a certain level of nuance that we can only bring to our own stories.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so, that was a lot.
Yeah, sorry I turned our fun, goofy summary a little heavy.
No,
you're good.
That's what
I have one question, though. What is your cat's name?
My cat's name is Jojen.
Yeah.
She has things to tell us all.
Anytime we can bring animals into this conversation, in any conversation on this show, we do it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know where she is. Oh, Jojen is in the closet. So we're just going to let her chill there until she's ready to come out.
Taco.
So, Dan, how do our heroes protect Danny?
Yeah, so I'm just that was all. Like, thank you for sharing that, because it's super fucking important. Yeah, I've talked to you about this episode many times, and like seeing people that I care about represented like in this light has made me really happy, and I'm just glad that DC is allowing them to do that.
Yeah, DC is really like setting the pace, I think, right now for queer representation in superhero comics, and they have been for a while.
Yeah, and like casting too. Like they've been very good about that stuff. Like it's not like just a bunch of straight white dudes.
There's a trans deaf young man playing a character in the new season of Titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's playing Jericho, right?
Yeah, who is, I think he's bisexual in the comics.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, dope.
I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Yeah. So, to break up this very heartfelt moment, there's a fucking musical number where Larry and Morally Corrupt sing a fucking Kelly Clarkson song in a superhero television show. They get up on stage and they sing and they fucking dance, and it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Sorry, I got a little heated.
No, it's so good.
When they come into the club, they're playing Carly Rae Jepsen. It's like DC.
Anyone who's on our Discord knows that we have the Carly Rae Jepsen Pavilion. Unless someone deleted it again.
DC was like coming at me with this episode. They're like, hey, I know sometimes we fuck up, but here's a Carly Rae Jepsen song, and guess what? Here's a musical number with Kelly Clarkson. Now just shut the fuck up and stop complaining. So I wanted to ask y'all what you thought.
It's a dream sequence.
Is it a dream sequence?
It's a dream sequence because he's playing it out in his head like, what if I did this?
Is he playing it out, or is the negative
he can't accept himself to do it.
I thought it was a dream sequence sort of maybe from Danny.
That's what I was thinking.
Because I think that because there's a visual note with Larry that is the fact that he is wrapped up entirely. Like there's not even a cutout for his mouth. And so by taking him out of that, there's something about the removal of that is about being yourself and being open. And so I feel like it's more Danny trying to talk to Larry.
Yeah.
I don't know how far Danny's powers go.
But there's also the spirit as well, who has done stuff like that.
Yeah.
With the memories.
Also, Danny might just have the good kush.
Oh, it might have been Buddy.
Yeah.
It might have been Buddy.
So
we all might be wrong.
After the song and dance number, as we mentioned, Larry's just sitting there in front of the mic that was put in his face, and he just says, I don't dance. And he just gets up and leaves. And it's like, oh, Larry. But as he's outside talking to Cyborg, Morally Corrupt comes out, and she is not in her regalia. She's
dressed up. She's misgendering herself to save Danny.
Yeah, she's dressed like how she came. And she's trying to go back to the Bureau in order to save Danny and all of the Danzians. But Danny is not letting that happen. And turns out the Bureau is already there. And the next line is super important to me just because when we first meet Morally Corrupt and she explains that Danny is non-binary.
Danny is genderqueer. Those are different.
Sorry, genderqueer.
No, that's cool.
Morally Corrupt makes a comment to Cyborg about not understanding binary because Cyborg kind of like is taken aback a bit by this whole thing. I think it's just a lot for him.
Vic is really, really like straight.
Yeah.
Like he's an athlete. Like he's very like, I think he's kind of a viewer stand-in for this episode.
Yeah. And that's why I think it was super important for me to hear him look at Morally Corrupt and go, let's turn the party, girl. So like he's being like what he should have been the whole time. So basically now this army of awful bureau people are coming down, and Morley is standing at the front of the army of Danzians, and Morley stands up to her former partner who is throwing out just horrible things, and the men behind them are laughing and cheering him on. He calls them like freaks and how they're not worth anything and things like that. And it's just like, oh, dude, you're a fucking bitch. But all of the men behind him disappear. Danny has teleported them somewhere else. And Darren, the leader, gets the absolute shit beat out of him by Morley. She just destroys him. Because he like comes at her and she just is a great fight scene. And then Larry tells Darren to tell the Bureau that the street is off limits and tell them that Larry Traynor sent you. And then he punches him. So I think it's a big moment for everyone because they've won for now. So afterwards they're having a big party and Cyborg's sitting outside by himself. And this whole time Niles Calder has been missing. Danny tells him that Niles will be proud of him. Cyborg doesn't have a positive father figure in his life or any positive figure because his father has betrayed him and basically used him to try to get him on the Justice League. And
Niles is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Niles at least pretends.
I almost feel like that's worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He does bad things to do. Well, at least in the comics, he does bad things.
He does bad things in the show, too.
Yeah, no, he does the bad things for selfish reasons in the show. He does bad things in the comics to try and benefit society. But
yeah, so
it's not great either way.
Cyborg and Danny talk for a little bit. And Cyborg mentions that Mr. Nobody has Niles, and Danny just is like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's too dangerous. I have to protect my people. But Danny does give Vic a comic book, which looks like it has some secrets about Niles in it. And that is how we close out that episode. Jake, I know you wanted to mention something about the other story.
Yes. I guess this is the A plot of the episode. There is a B plot following Crazy Jane, and then there's a small, tiny part with Cliff. And Cliff kind of he's having some problems. The episode before, he had a rat in his brain. You know, normal robot stuff. But in this episode, he's kind of forced to stay outside and be by himself. And a little boy comes up, sees him, when he's riding his bike, little boy goes away. Cliff's a little upset about that, but the little boy comes back dressed as like a robot superhero, and then they have a dance off. And that's my favorite part of the episode.
It's a good moment.
Yeah. So something that is like super interesting about Robot Man is just him struggling with his own body and his image. I think he does that through the whole series and the comic too, just because he can't do anything like he could before. So I think having the idea of quote unquote innocence of a child, like looking up to you like that, is super, super important to him. Especially because he lost his daughter, so...
Can I wrap in like something that happens later in the season, or maybe it's definitely later in the season. In Jane Patrol, Cliff goes into Jane's psyche, and there's a part that I think is a little. I understand why people have criticisms of it, and I won't like divulge into that whole thing, but like there's a part where you can read Cliff as non-binary because like it's the final, like it's the moment where he really comes to terms with his body and like who he is, and it's really fucking cool. And there's also, I don't know where in Morrison's run it happens, but it's definitely like well after the arc that we're gonna read, but there's a point where the contract nobody tries to get Cliff to give up the body that Cliff has, and Cliff says no. And it's just like, it's so good. Like, there is so much commitment in all of the Doom Patrol content that I have seen to like owning your weirdness and owning the things that make you you. That is so fucking vital. So yeah, Robot Man is incredibly good. And that scene with that kid is adorable.
So, our second story is Doom Patrol Crawling from the Wreckage. And this is a comic from Vertigo. Written by Grant, Savior of the X-Men, Morrison. Pencils by Richard Case. Inks by Carlos Garzon and Scott Hanna. Colorist Michelle Workman and Danny Vazzo. Letterer John Workman. So, in part one, and this is just going to be read as Jake has written it. Vroom vroom crash. We get a bit of a flashback about how Cliff Steele became Robot Man as he's having a nightmare in a psychiatric hospital after the Doom Patrol's last failed mission, with a variety of losses because they were in Egypt and it ended with Cliff in prison. Wait, that's the Mummy with Brendan Fraser. But yep. On a more serious note, the end of the previous Doom Patrol run, the creative team, instead of just letting the Doom Patrol go on, decided to kill them.
Yeah.
Don't know why. I could look into it, but Grant Morrison picked up that ball and held them close. Cliff
tenderly to his bald head.
To his head. Cliff is severely depressed after everything that's gone on. And in this story, Dr. Will Magnus, who created his body, goes to help Cliff, but Cliff doesn't need Magnus. He doesn't need antidepressants, none of that, because despite the doctor's claim that Cliff is destroying himself, Cliff's body won't let that happen. He can't feel anything. And it's super... It's makes me really sad to see him. He's standing on these stairs and he's banging his head against the wall because he can't feel anything. He
wants to be self-destructive at that moment.
Yeah,
he just can't.
He can't express it. He can't do anything. He's trapped. And Magnus makes the claim that he's sick of Cliff acting like he's the only one that has problems and that there are other people worse off than him. Cliff tells him to show him one, and so he does. Magnus introduces Cliff to Kay Chalice, aka Crazy Jane, and a number of different personalities. She has many personalities whose problems were only made worse when the gene bomb gave her own persona, each persona their own superpower.
For the gene bomb, that happened during Invasion.
Yeah, that made a lot more superheroes. So there's a scene that is in the first episode of Doom Patrol that is also in the issue where Jane is standing outside. That's not in another issue, right?
No, it's in that
issue.
Yeah, it's in that issue. One of the issues.
Okay, just because it's not in here. So she's standing outside painting, and like the painting has its own like psychic aura and like
the Hangman's daughter is painting.
Yeah, the Hangman's daughter. But then it does change to, does it change to Jane or is it?
Yeah, it changes to Jane. Jane moves between her personalities with a lot more fluidity in the comic than in the show. which kind of threw me for a loop until I had to say to myself, read, the comic is different than the show. Let it be.
And in the comics, Hammerhead has a hammerhead.
Yeah.
There's not a biker in the comics.
Right on the nose. And
with a hammer.
It starts raining, and it's like this tender moment between her and Cliff, where Cliff just wants to care about someone and help anyone because he can't help himself right now. At the Alamance Memorial Hospital, Dr. Eleanor Poole is the doctor assigned to the now pretty positive Larry Traynor, as he has no negative spirit and is going home tomorrow to live a normal life. After a failed attempt to woo the nice doctor, Larry is confronted by the negative spirit, who is now speaking despite never having the ability before. And the good old negative spirit says they need the doctor in the room for
alchemical marriage.
Got it. And fuses all three of their bodies into one. The Chief and Joshua Clay are going through their headquarters post shit hitting the fan. As I said, the last team tried to kill them all. Josh is done with being a hero and says it's best to let the patrol die. But Niles, he's like, nah, despite every bad thing that has happened and his wife getting killed a few issues prior, he's just literally do it 2 issues. Again. Yeah, he's just gonna do it all again.
Niles is like, I got nothing else going for me, so I need you all to put your lives on the line.
Nah, I've got a plan. Got a plan.
Such a bad guy. So at the end, there's a car crash that happens, and out comes a man, completely on fire, yelling the scissormen while holding a completely black book.
Yep. Because why not?
Yeah.
So, in the second part of this arc, shit's getting weird. I am also going to be mostly reading off of Jake's description, so we'll see how this goes.
Man, I tried.
Shit's getting weird in this one. Fish are falling from the sky around a priest as he thinks of punny things about, fish falling from the sky and being a priest.
There is no God.
Yep. He'd been looking at a sign that said there is no God. Fish fell on it and then the sign suddenly says there is no cod, and ha ha ha, that's very funny. Then the priest is crushed by a refrigerator.
I didn't get that.
And people are getting cut out of existence by guys with scissor hands. So, our scissor men have revealed themselves, leaving behind from these cut up people white silhouettes. And Chief and Josh go see Larry, who is now fused, who they discover is fused with Dr. Poole and the negative spirit, and they prefer to be called Rebus now. They're wearing the bandages and a robe and slippers over this new fused body, which has quote-unquote male and female characteristics displayed in, and, Chief and Josh are like, hey, do you want to join the Doom Patrol? And Rebus is like, meh, we got this cool new sexy thing happening. And, so the Chief and Josh leave, but the Chief hangs back to watch Rebus change because, as we've said, Niles Calder is a shitbag. And so, they watch Rebus change. The lights go a little dim, sexy music plays, and Niles is like, hey, yo, baby, do you want to join the new Doom Patrol? And Rebus is like, I guess this can happen. Will Magnus visits Cliff again and points out that he's heard Cliff has spent a lot of time with Crazy Jane, and the two chat, and it ends with Will saying he's going to make Cliff a better body. Jane comes up, and turns out it's Driver 8 who controls parts of the underground, which is Kay's psychological landscape, housing all the personalities. The two chat with Driver 8, Driver 8 tells Cliff that the personalities like Robot Man, and then the man goes out a window, because why not? And he...
You're welcome.
He loses against a rock.
Jesus.
Because he's got his index and middle finger extended into scissors, and he's saying scissor men repeatedly. I got the vibe that this was the same person that burst into flames. I don't know why, but like I did. Probably because I wasn't paying attention when reading the comics.
Yeah, so
I'm going to say during rock, paper, scissors, fire is a legal move.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't catch the COD comment or the rock.
I thought the COD comment was really funny, but that's also because I was raised Catholic.
Yeah, with Grant Morrison books, I have to reread them a couple times just because my brain can't get it all in one go.
It's because you're not bald.
Yeah, so I just had to do something else, and I had to figure out who was older. The two biggest pieces of shit in comics, Niles Calder Charles Xavier. Niles Calder is older.
Niles is older?
Yeah, no, the Doom Patrol came first.
Holy shit, what? I feel really wrong knowing that, because I feel like so much of Morrison's Doom Patrol is in response to the publication history of the X-Men.
Yep, yeah. 3 months older. Yep, Doom Patrol is older.
Ooh, adult. I gotta rethink my whole life.
I mean, one of them is more culturally significant.
That's true.
For now.
But the Doom Patrol, the age of the Doom Patrol has dawned upon us.
Robot Man's gonna take over.
Fuck.
Yeah, they're both huge pieces of shit that cross boundaries and are just generally bad people. If you are listening to this podcast and you don't know what the X-Men are, I got a lot for you.
I think there's a little bit of difference between Niles and Xavier, because Xavier kind of doesn't want to accept any of his bad thoughts because he just compartmentalizes all of them, and that they become an actual psychic entity.
Yeah.
And but Niles, he legit accepts it. He's just like, yeah, I got my reasons. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Keep gonna do the bad things. My name is Niles.
Niles isn't bald.
So
he's also got a beard.
Here is the thing, listeners. If a man in a wheelchair approaches you in an extremely vulnerable moment and says, "Hey, do you want to join my superhero team?" Maybe don't.
Avoid.
Yeah. There's also a weird part in the 4th issue of this.
Use dodge. Okay.
So, yeah. Later, Cliff is writing at his desk, hears something, and finds one of the personalities of Jane yelling about the blood of the lamb. Oh, and she's also covered in blood. And bam, our heroes are surprised by the scissormen. And they book it through a door and find a doctor floating with no arms or legs, because why not? And then they run into some more to find some more. Jake, do they run into more people? There's a missing
more
noun here.
More scissormen.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing like 3 other things. I was watching a cooking video when I was typing this. I was also watching I was rewatching the Doom Patrol episode. I was doing a lot of things at the same time.
As I told you, we're not.
I think you have illusions about how organized the Young Ones is.
I think I have illusions about every other. Like, I look at all of my podcasting friends as like everyone's got it together, but Jake and I really do live by the skin of our teeth for every single episode. So if the listeners didn't know that, Jake and I are.
We got a lot loaded up. We're loaded up.
Yeah, this is more than the Young Ones usually has prepared. So
I don't know, when is this episode going on? August?
So, Jake, let's get to your issue.
All right. It's gotten extra weird and kind of creepy, with a lot of bones and scissormen patrolling as Jane and Cliff are in Kansas City, the Kansas City Union Station, which is the one-time headquarters of the Doom Patrol. At least up until the first issue of this story, when Niles and Joshua are loading everything out. So, turns out everything went to Rhode Island, and Cliff and Jane are like, we gotta go. So they decided to grab what was remaining, which was luckily the jet, because they just left their jet.
I mean,
they had a lot of military equipment. They had like military helicopters. they had 2 military helicopters, and I guess like a legit superheroing jet.
Yeah, Rhode Island is small. You can't fit all of that stuff. Like,
I would think they would, because where they move, I'll just skip to where they moved. They moved into the JLA's first headquarters, which is Mount Justice, and that's paid for by Bruce Wayne, aka Batman.
Wait a minute. Mount Justice is in Rhode Island?
Yeah. Happy Harbor is in Rhode Island.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I mean, if it's owned by Batman...
You've never seen the mountain?
No, there are no mountains in Rhode Island.
Yeah, there is.
Batman put it there.
No.
Reed, are you okay?
No, I'm not okay.
Is on Rhode Island. It's a thing.
I'm going to look up, and it's by a harbor.
There are harbors in Rhode Island. It
It's
is
a
called
happy
the Ocean
harbor.
State because it has more coastline percentage-wise than any other state.
Mountain
And a mountain.
in Rhode Island.
No, they don't exist.
How long is Rhode Island?
Oh, wait, no. There is a mountain in Rhode Island.
What
Mount
are
Hope.
they calling the mountain?
Mount Hope.
Yeah, Mount Hope must be in Quahog.
The best part about this is, when I looked it up, there's only one thing that's registered, like, it says it calls itself a mountain, all the other... No, there's 2. There's 2, and the rest of them are just hills.
What are they calling mountains?
There's a lot of hills.
What are they calling mountains? I want to know now.
There's Mount Hope, and there's another one, Badger Mountain.
Mount Hope isn't really a mountain. It's a high school. Like, it's a part of Rhode Island, but there's no mountain. Rhode Island is on sea level.
I don't know. It's a lot of hills. It's
So
really,
wait, where's Mount Justice then? Where does the Justice League have their headquarters? Exactly. They have to have a mountain in Rhode Island. It's just
Batman put it there. Let's just go with that.
He built it. You know,
Batman put
me
the
1
mountain
second.
there as part of his 12-year training.
Batman is a fucking... He builds all of this shit and just expects no one to figure out that he is Batman. Like, there is an accountant somewhere that's like doing Bruce Wayne's numbers. He's like, what the fuck is all of this spending?
Yeah, they're going to get him the same way they got
Well,
Capone.
no. Lucius cooks his
Yes.
books.
Are you telling me Batman commits tax fraud?
Probably.
No, Lucius does. Lucius Fox does it.
Good. But
He also invests for Dick Grayson. That's how he turned in a small trust fund into something that Dick Grayson could live off of for...
Oh, yeah. Small trust fund of
forever.
$1 million. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
Okay, now that the foundation of my entire existence has cracked.
But yeah, so
Mount Justice.
before they jet off, Jane turns into her most dangerous, at least in this iteration, because in the last iteration it was Karen. The last iteration we talked about was Karen. Black Annis, which is just her skin darkens. She gets really big claws, and she just wants to kill all men except for Robot Man.
Edward Scissorhands, but misandrous and scary.
Well, I think no, she killed all the This is Edward Scissorhands.
She doesn't even just have scissor hands. Like, there's like blades coming out of her actual hands too.
There's a lot of scissor hands in this story, which
Grant Morrison
I now
loves
understand why
scissors.
they changed it for the show. Because this story is in the show. It's just different.
Yeah.
Is it
I was
in
trying
the
to figure
show?
out.
It's
So-
the one with the parents.
Oh, okay, yeah, the book. Yeah, okay, yeah.
With the kids in the book.
Yep,
Yeah, he's the Black Book.
yep. Yeah, it's a lot more comprehensible in the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. All right. Back to it.
So yeah, Cliff fills in the Chief and Josh as I don't know what I was writing while one of Jane's personas, Madame Pentecost, Mama Pentecost, deciphers the black completely deciphers it as they're talking. And Niles is like, yeah, once she's done, we'll go head out. And then she's like, I'm done. She keeps repeating it. I'm done. She deciphers the entire black book. and explains that it's kind of a weird religion of reality and non-reality and a bunch of other stuff. It's not really easy to explain in this, which is why they dumbed it down for the TV show.
It's not.
This is why philosophy professors shouldn't hang out.
Yeah,
basically.
Descartes. Yeah. That entire philosophy is kind of just meh. I think so. For therefore I am.
That's Socrates.
What's Descartes then?
I don't know. I could ask my wife. She studied philosophy.
Descartes is something similar.
It's probably also, I think, therefore I am, but like that boils down to
that's Socrates. But
Socrates.
What is? Well, they talk about it in issue 4. They talk about Descartes, and it's basically Grant Morrison trying to put a bunch of philosophy into a comic book where a bunch of people got together and made this spooky book, and then the spooky book makes a spooky world because it wants to come out.
Because it's spooky.
Yeah, so.
Because it's very treacherous to be someone who studies philosophy in college.
No job security, so they just made this book.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why this happened. Job security, they wanted job security, and it's not, I mean, it's non-reality.
Yep.
The only place that exists.
Part 4.
No, Dan, I'm not done.
Go ahead.
I'm not done part 3, Dan. So the Scissormen get into Mount Justice because, mountains in Rhode Island. It just might be a rigid hill.
Rigid.
It's a rigid
hill of justice. Got it. Continue.
Yeah. Made by Batman. They ambush Josh and Cliff, and Josh is cut out of reality. But after they kill a bunch of them. But he's just a little white silhouette at that point. So then Cliff, Rebus, and Jane go fight an army of 1,000 Scissormen, and they get cut out as they're moving. They don't even get touched.
So the reason they do that is so they can go to wherever the other people are, so they can stop it.
Which is a little weird considering when they get there.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we need to take a break and explain what the fuck is going on, because we just kind of said,
Yeah. So the book, you read, take it.
Yeah, the book basically is these philosophy professors wrote a fan fiction about this alternate universe where nothing is real. And so because the book got read, the fantasy world is becoming our world. And so they gotta jump into the fantasy world to save Josh. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say before we get into the next part, there is a kind of a bad part when it comes to the chief, and it's kind of directed towards him. You both know what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah.
But he kind of gets his revenge on that.
Yeah, we can just not talk about that, especially because we have gone way over time, which is a first. So the shit starts out explaining the 2 clock-faced priests of the Black Book religion. So basically, there's these 2 clock. They're not clock kings. That's another character. 2 clock priests.
No, this is where the clock king came from.
Yeah, he's the son. That reside in the place that has names that Jake didn't feel like typing out. Basically, it's all just mumbo jumbo. Does that sound right? Yeah,
about right.
I might be able to do this very quickly.
Yeah, do it.
All right,
take it away.
In this fake world, there are 2 priests. One lies, one tells the truth. Basically, Ma Pentecost figures out that there's this one essential question that you can ask these priests that will basically make the world explode. And so Crazy Jane and Cliff are gonna fight all the Scissormen to hold them off so that that Rebus can go ask this question to these 2 priests. The B plot of the issue is that Niles basically comes to the same conclusion, except a lot slower than Ma Pentecost did, which is, that's about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Rebus beats the priest by creating a paradox with the lying priest to get them to reveal that they aren't real. Someone creeps on Comatose Rhea in the epilogue, and then there are melty footprints. And that's that.
Yeah, so the comic book is super confusing. It's Grant Morrison.
And this is like early career Grant, right?
I think this is his big break.
Yeah, so it's extra indecipherable.
Yeah, it's a lot. If you're into Grant Morrison, I would suggest reading it, but otherwise, check out the show. Like, it's
this story is told in the show, and it's much easier to follow.
Yep.
Yeah,
and a lot of the weird stuff is taken it.
A lot of the Doom Patrol is not an easy read, especially the Gerard Way one is also not very easy to read, just because it's
Danny's an ambulance that can create people.
Mm-hmm. It's a Gerard was, I don't want to say like classically trained. Gerard.
Oh, excuse me. I'm a My Chemical Romance historian. I can answer this question. Gerard Way went to comic book school. He went to SVA and was a huge fan of Doom Patrol. And so his run on Doom Patrol is more of an homage to Morrison's Doom Patrol. So it's kind of like one of those things where you have to know the source material to get what's going on. At least in my opinion, as someone that tried to read G's Doom Patrol.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, it's not. Even me who's read some of it, it's like, oh, this is different. Gerard is very good at comic books, but he's also close friends with Grant, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Grant was in all of the music videos for their... for
I only knew he was in one.
He's the villain.
Yeah, he's the villain in those, except for the one video that's a compilation of tour videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in Na 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 and the video for Sing.
Huh. I didn't know about the Sing video.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about Na 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 Na.
He kills them all.
Yeah, it's a cool video. So, yeah, please watch Doom Patrol. Read. What?
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to plug? Any projects? Anything? What do you want? You tell us.
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely check out my podcast when we eventually return from my moving hiatus. And you can find us at a place online that I will tell you where it is. Maybe. Hello, internet. Yeah, so you can find my podcast, Young Ones, at Young Ones Cast on Twitter.com, and that'll give you the links to everything else because I am bad at internet. And I hang out on Twitter at ARMustDie, where I'm mostly tweeting about climbing lately, but, sometimes I'll say funny or cool things. Yeah, that's me.
You can find us at DC Supersons on Twitter. You can find us at supersonspod.com. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/supersons. You'll get access to bonus content. You can talk direct to me. You can request characters, things you want on the show, feedback, whatever you got. Let us know.
And if you can't support us that way, just, tell your friends. Give us a subscription. No, wait.
Write a review for these good boys on iTunes and leave them a 5-star review.
That'd be pretty nice.
Perfect.
Thanks, Reed.
Yeah, no worries.
Reed, once again, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You are a wealth of knowledge and much more well-spoken than Jake and I.
I pride myself on not being well-spoken. I think that leads to funnier things in my writing.
Yeah, I feel like there maybe need to be... Y'all gotta do some Patreon leaks of Jake's unedited typing because this is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I do not put any effort into this. I can actually write really well if I try, but not in that. I don't have any. That takes more time than I'm willing to put into this.
I think at one part he writes, that reside in a place that has names I don't feel like typing. Jake does the least.
His description of Flaming Katie is great. Flaming Katie, a Jane that's giant with a fireball head that shoots smaller fireballs.
That's correct. That's the simplest way to put it. That's what I learned as a history major. I gotta write as simple as possible.
That look in the television show is also incredible.
Yeah, it is. Just watch Doom Patrol.
And she always kind of has that same, she always has the same clothes on.
I love that about her,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. All right. Well, watch Doom Patrol. Watch Doom Patrol. Watch Doom Patrol. Thanks.
Yep.